So that's it for the announcements. Today's topic will be a continuation of how to reset and renew. This is a perfect time to pause, take a breath, and take stock of where you are on the spiritual path. Are you continuing up the mountain to enlightenment? Or have you taken a wrong turn? A turn which has enmeshed you in the lower realities of the physical, the mental, and emotional, the illusion, the Maya, and the glamour. By taking stock of our situation and where we are on the spiritual path, we can reset ourselves, and by resetting ourselves, we can renew. And let me go into that in a little bit more detail. The areas of importance to take stock of so that we can reset are: 1, our thoughts; 2, our emotions; 3, our words; and 4, our actions. So let's start with our thoughts. As we have shared many times here at the Spirit of the Lotus, your mind is the link between the unmanifest and the physical reality around you. It is the bridge between all possibility and what you want to create on this physical plane. We often describe this link or this bridge with the following saying, or the following law: spirit into mind, mind into matter. So you can see how important the mind is with respect to your physical reality and everything that is happening around you in every moment of every day. By taking stock of your thoughts, what I'm asking you to do is, what occupies your mind? Is your mind occupied with positive thoughts like love, joy, peace, compassion, forgiveness? Or is your mind occupied by more negative thoughts? Thoughts of limitation, thoughts of separation, thoughts of anger, thoughts of jealousy, thoughts of envy. Our mind is so powerful. And the great thing is, what's one of the essential gifts from God? Free will. We have the ability to choose what we think, when we think it, and how we think. And let me give an example of this, which occurred just yesterday. I was watching television and a UFC fighter was being interviewed. And for those of you who don't know, the UFC is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. It's cage fighting. This individual who is being interviewed is a world champion at his weight class, a 2-time world champion. And they were asking him about his history in the sport. And this individual by the name has the name of Dominic Cruz, and he has been injured often throughout his career. In fact, he's had to take years off due to injuries. And what the interview dealt with in part was the fact that a lot of people were telling Mr. Cruz that he was injury prone, he was cursed, his body was frail and weak, and that's why he continued to get injured and had to take so much time off, months and years, like I said. So Mr. Cruz during the interview was saying, well, I could take stock of what everyone was telling me and buy into it. So I could buy into their thinking that my body was frail, that I was cursed, that these bad things in terms of injuries kept happening to me. But he said, I chose not to do that. I chose to see all of these injuries as something positive for me. I chose to see these injuries as things that benefited me as a UFC fighter, that gave me time to improve my craft, that gave me time to strengthen my mind, that gave me the time to become the world champion that he was. So this is the power of the mind. Again, you can choose what to think, how to think, and when to think it. And once you recognize this power, you will see how the world around you changes. So take stock of your thoughts. The next thing to take stock of so that you can reset and renew is your emotions. Some people on the spiritual path have the idea that you have to be emotionless to be an adept or a spiritual leader or a spiritual teacher. That is simply not true. We're all human. We all have emotions. And the goal in this lifetime, when you are moving up the mountain to enlightenment, is not to achieve being emotionless. The goal is not to be controlled by your emotions. And there is a big difference between the two. Even Jesus the Christ got angry. I'm sure with every spiritual master or prophet, you could find situations where they were angry or situations where they demonstrated some type of emotion. The question becomes, are you so attached to your emotions that you allow them to control you? So that your emotions are directing your actions, your thoughts, your words. The goal on the spiritual path is to step back and be the witness. No matter what emotion arises within you, whether it's anger or envy or jealousy or joy, compassion, you be a witness to those emotions. Allow them to happen. Do not attach to them. Observe them and let them go. That is the key for the adept on the spiritual path. Another thing to do is to take stock of what percentage, if you take a day, what percentage of your day is occupied by what emotions? So for instance, are you happy and joyful 90% of the day? Or are you angry and depressed and envious for 90% of the day? Once you make this determination of what emotions are coloring your days, then you need to ask yourself why, get to the root cause, so that you can mindfully change what you are doing, so that you can mindfully change your emotions. So we've talked about thoughts, emotions. So now let's take stock of our words. I don't think I need to tell all of you how powerful words are. Psychologists know this, psychiatrists know this. There have been innumerable studies on this, the impact of words on other people. Words can literally cut like a knife. Sound literally created everything that ever was, is, and shall be. Whether you want to call it the Big Bang or the spoken word of God, this is what started all of manifestation. This is the ultimate power of sound and the spoken word. So when you speak, like I said before, words can cut like a knife. When you speak, it is important to speak the truth. But are you tempering that truthful speaking with love? Are you tempering it with compassion? And are you tempering it with wisdom? Are you taking a moment to see all sides and make sure that what you are saying is constructive? Sometimes the best path, as we all know, is to not say anything at all. Sometimes the best path is to say very little. Sometimes the best path is to give a longer explanation. And this does take practice and it does take effort. But with right thought and right emotions, you can direct your words in the right manner. Taking our thoughts and our emotions and our words together, once we've taken stock of those and making sure we're on the right path with those, we have to look at our actions. Sometimes, as we all know, actions are more important than what we are thinking and what we have said. What's the cliche? Actions speak louder than words. There's also an author, I think it's Emerson, who said that how you act speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Think about that. How you act speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. We all must make sure that our actions are in step with our thoughts and our words and our emotions. Ideally, we're thinking positively, we have positive emotions, we are speaking positively, and we are acting positively. Sometimes taking action in the right manner can help shape and form and mold your emotions and your thoughts. I've told this story before, but I think it might be instructive here as well. There was a mother who had biological children, but she wanted to have another child. She couldn't have another biological child, so she decided to adopt a child. She adopted a young girl, and apparently this young girl was very difficult to deal with, very hard for the mother to handle. whereas her biological children had not been that way at all. And the mother spoke to a counselor and she said, despite my best efforts, if I am being truthful, I have to admit that I love my biological children more than I love this adopted daughter. And I can't seem to change that in terms of my thinking and my emotions. So what the counselor advised her to do was, from that point going forward, act as if you loved your adopted daughter unconditionally. In every moment of every day, act as if you loved your daughter unconditionally. And over time, by taking this action, your emotions will change, your thoughts will change, your words will change, so that they are also reflections of unconditional love to your adopted daughter. Once we take stock of our thoughts and our emotions, our words and our actions, and turn them around so that we are pointed in the right direction up the mountain to enlightenment, this allows us to renew our faith, to renew in the realization of who and what we are, which is an individual expression of God, a co-creator with God. Sometimes people ask me about tithing and whether they should tithe to the church. And there are many churches who ask that with respect to tithing, you tithe a certain amount of money. So for instance, 10% of your gross income. What I would suggest when you're on this path of resetting and renewing is to not think of tithing in terms of money, but to think of it in terms of time. So if 10% is your figure, and there's 24 hours in a day, are you tithing 2.4 hours per day to God? Is God the number one priority in your life? These 2.4 hours, it doesn't have to be 2.4 hours of meditation or 2.4 hours in prayer or in contemplation. It's 2.4 hours of being consciously aware of God in everything that you think and say and do and feel, no matter what you're doing during the day. And when you prioritize God as part of your resetting and renewing, think to yourself, what is the number one priority in your life? Is it your job? Is it financial freedom? Is it your children? Is it your spouse? Is it your romantic partner? Or is it God? And if it is not God, then you must ask yourself, why isn't it God? Why isn't God always first and foremost? If you place God first, I can assure you that that will be to the benefit of your spouse or romantic partner. That will be to the benefit of your job. That will be to the benefit of your children. That will be to the benefit of you. So that's what I wanted to share today about resetting in terms of our thoughts, emotions, words, and actions, and renewing and making sure that God is the number one priority in your life. And now we will have time for a deep little meditation.